right, what's up, y'all, and welcome back to another episode of the Right Number Podcast. I'm your host, Armani LaDale, and here we talk about everything self analyzing, reflecting, and correcting, just so we can show up as our best selves every day on purpose. So, today we have a very, very special guest. We have Maliyah from the Maliyah Kimble show here with us today. So, y'all go ahead and welcome her on.
Hi guys.
First, thank you so much for coming on. If you want to give us like a quick introduction about who you are, your podcast, stuff like that, then we can go ahead and get started.
Hi guys. My name is Maliyah Kimble. I'm 15 years old. I'm a sophomore at Cass, and I have my own podcast. On my podcast, I basically interview people, and it's basically I make it whatever you want to talk about. So if you have your own business, you are a boxer, an entertainer, it's basically whatever you want to talk about, and I make it your conversation.
Okay, that's really good. I can see that making people feel very at home. So I love that. I really, really love that. So before we get into just more of the episode, I like to do a mental health check. So what I've been doing lately is this self-love box. So we pull like a few cards from the self-love box. So the first is three levels. So the first level is like something about your past, and then the second level is present, and then the third level is future. Are you okay
Oh,
with answering those questions with me?
okay. I'm fine.
Okay,
That's
cool.
fine.
Okay, cool. All right. So for the past, the question says, who do you try to impress and how? Or who did you try to impress in your past and how? If you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I can go first.
Okay, go
Um,
ahead.
Not to sound too cliche, but like I always try to impress. Like when I was younger, I tried to like impress my parents. Like
Mhm.
my goal was to always, make them proud, make them happy. Because when they're
Yeah,
happy, that makes me happy. And
yeah,
I also try to, impress God.
that's good. I love that you're really in your faith too, because that's one for me. My parents and my in God. I'm not gonna lie, that's the same. As long as my dad was okay with it, as long as he said you doing good, I was happy. I don't care. And even like growing up, I would still do this. So I had to get out of that just a little bit, but that's I was definitely the same way. All right. So now the second one says this is for our present. It says, how do you measure your own success?
I measure my own success by looking back and seeing how much I've improved from where I
Mm,
was. So that's kind of how I measure it because, when you improve, you get to become more successful. And with
mm,
success, you know, um, you reach obstacles and you have to overcome those obstacles, but after you overcome those obstacles, that's when you get to see the brighter side of it, because when you go through obstacles and stuff, you become down and stuff. So when
yeah.
you reach success, you become more happy and stuff. So that's how I just measure my success.
That's really good. You're real smart. I like that answer actually. That was a good answer. Uh, I would probably say for me, I would say it's like a feeling, like you said, of happiness. As long as I'm happy and checking off my checklist for the most part, I feel like that's how I measure my success for the most part. Yeah. And then the last one says, what do you need more time for? So what do you feel like you could use more time to do?
Mm, I feel like I need more time just to, reflect on everything that goes on. Cause, life sometimes can move at like a fast pace, and you always need that time to just reflect on everything that's going on, or even just, check your mental health and make sure you're level headed. So I feel like, yeah,
Mm,
everybody needs more time just to have like a self reflection.
yes, that's really good. I actually had to learn that this week, just with starting classes and working and trying to push out content for the pod. So I definitely can understand that. And I'm actually going to come back to that with you too, as far as like that mental health and just making time for yourself. So we're going to definitely come back to that. But for me, something I feel like I need to make time for, I would say, honestly, I don't want to keep saying the same thing you're saying, but I would say the same almost, just time to to myself, not necessarily for just self care, because I feel like I do that pretty well now. I implement like at least one day out the week, but I would say just time to make sure that I'm getting everything handled as far as my classes now, as far as the podcast. I just need to do a little bit of adjusting since my schedule has recently changed. I don't really do the same stuff I used to do like in the summertime because my schedule was a little more open. So I need more time to just figure out my daily routine. But thank you for doing that with me. I do appreciate that. So we're gonna go ahead and move on. So I know you are the host of the Maliyah Kimble Show. So how has that been, and how long have you been hosting?
Well, I've been doing my show for almost a year now,
Mhm.
and it's been pretty good. Like at the beginning, I was real nervous to start it, but I just kept doing it. And I feel like when you're nervous about doing something, just keep
Mhm.
doing it because then you'll get more
Yeah.
comfortable doing it, and then you can make improvements because you can see where you need to improve at. So just keep doing it and find those little mistakes or like the things that you feel like you can improve on and just improve on
Mhm.
them.
Good. And what inspired you to start your show?
Well, my dad, he initially inspired me because he came up with the idea and I was iffy about it, but I just stuck with it and I tried to like make his idea my own idea and put my own
Mhm.
little pizzazz on it.
Okay, okay. And do you have any goals for the podcast as of right now?
Um, as of right now, I'm just doing it to just see where it'll go. I just,
Mhm.
it's just something to do outside of what I already do in my normal life. So it's just a side job that I can do.
Mhm. Okay. And what about your goals outside the podcast? Like, what are you interested in, or do you have any personal goals you're trying to get to?
Outside of the podcast, I want to become a doctor in the future. So I'm just focusing on school and just the steps that I can take to get to the point to where I want to be to become a doctor.
Mm.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
What type of doctor, if you don't mind me asking? Like, what do you want to do?
Uh, Well, right now I'm focusing on becoming like a pediatric doctor.
Okay.
But it might change over the course. So,
You like
but
kids?
that's
You like kids?
a little bit, not a
A little
lot.
bit.
Like short term, I can deal with the kid, but like long term, no.
Mm. Okay. Are you involved in anything else, like outside of school, or like outside the podcast, or even like
Yeah,
extracurriculars in school?
yeah. At school, I'm a part of a program called Future Doctors of Tomorrow. And basically, it's just a program to help with like readiness with becoming a doctor. And it not only teaches you like stuff to become a doctor, but it also teaches you things like with job interviewing and becoming more prepared when you go to a job and how to
Yeah.
obtain a job. And also, I'm a part of my church. I'm a part of the media team. So I help every Sunday with recording service. I have my own camera, so that's
Okay.
pretty much what I do.
That's good. I love that. And you said you go to Cass Tech, right?
Mhm.
How do you like going there? I know that's a big school out there in the city. So how you like going there?
Um, I like it for the most part. Like to me, it's like when I before I went there, it was like gonna be like Hollywood and all that. But when I got
Mm,
there, it just seemed like a regular school. Like everybody tries to make it seem like it's just crazy and all of that, but it just seemed
mm.
like a regular school to me when I got there.
Okay, okay. And a lot of my viewers they're actually from Georgia. So if y'all don't know, Cass Tech is just a big high school in Michigan, Detroit, Michigan. Okay. And so yeah, I definitely hear a lot about just Cass being like a big Hollywood type of school. I've seen a lot of people like my age, they came from Cass and they're doing pretty good. So they gotta be reading some Hollywood material. So that's good. What about your motivation? Like who would you say your biggest motivation is and why?
I would say that my dad is my biggest motivation because he's just always come and go with ideas and things for me to do so I can be better prepared in the future. So I would
Hmm.
say that's my big motivation.
Hey, that's good. Me and you are alike in that because my dad is mine too. So I love that. I absolutely love that. I talk about him all the time. What would be like the biggest lesson you may have learned from him, your dad?
Um, I learned a lot.
I can imagine.
Um,
Same.
I would say like watching who like you hang around. Like,
Mhm.
um, I would say like I have a lot of friends and I can tell by like how some of my friends act like, yeah, my dad is not gonna let me
Well,
hang out with you. So I would
yeah.
basically say watching that, he teaches me like not to do what everybody else is doing, even though like
Mhm.
somebody can make it seem like it's just so cool and that you should do it. But if you
Mhm.
know you shouldn't do it, don't do it. So I would say that.
That's big. That's another one my dad would do as well. That who you hang with. My dad is fairly young, so when I was in high school, he'd look around, like he'd be on like social media. He was always on Instagram and stuff. So if I post something and he see one of my friends, he be like, "I seen that girl you was hanging with, and I don't think she know." So like it'd be definitely like so. I understand that 100%. I feel like that goes a long way too. When I was a little younger, it didn't make sense. Then I'd be like, here he goes stalking me, trying to worry about me. But it definitely made a lot of more. It made a lot more sense when I got older. And I know you mentioned just like everything that everybody else is doing, how we shouldn't always fall into that. How do you feel about social media in that kind of realm? Because I know a lot of times it's a lot of conversation about just social media and then like the big influence it has. Do you have any opinions on that?
Yeah, I feel like social media has like a really big influence on like kids my age. And I just think that, your social media reflects on you because when you're on social
Mm-hmm.
media, you're liking, you're looking at things that appeal to you. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
when you're on social media, you should look for things that are positive and things that can benefit you in life instead of negative things. Because
Yeah.
then when you make it all negative, all you see is negativity on a daily basis if you are
Mm-hmm.
a person who is on social media on a daily basis. So that's why you should try to, look for positive things on social media. So what you're seeing on a daily basis is positive.
Definitely. I agree 100%. I always talk about that too. Just you control it. What you like pops up on your feed. So you're going to get more of what you like. I know sometimes seeing even for me when I was like a few years ago, I would always I love motivation. So regardless if you're doing good, I love to see it. I support all the time. And I know at one point it got to a point where I was like comparing almost. Do you ever feel like you get into that state of comparing or even just not necessarily wishing you had what somebody else had, but just looking at stuff that's positive, but then like kind of like what effect does that have any effect on you right now or no?
Uh, Not
You get
really. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
okay.
Not really, cause sometimes, you see what someone has, you like, "Oh, dang, I wish I had that." But then you think like, what did they do to get what they got? Or
Mhm.
what do they have, and is it making a negative effect on their life? Cause you never know what's really going on behind closed
Mhm.
doors. You only see what people post, and most of the times people post, like, stuff to make them look better, make them seem,
Mhm.
higher than what it is. So I just try to stay to what I like and what
Mhm.
I think is good for me.
Mhm. That's good. You're so smart. I absolutely love this because you are very, very smart and intelligent. I could tell you have like your own head on your shoulders. You are very confident. So that's just a beautiful thing.
Thank
I know you
you.
mentioned, no problem. I know you mentioned a little earlier about just self care. Do you do anything for self care or what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I'm like a girly girl. Like I like getting my nails done, my hair done,
Mhm.
all of that. So that's really self care to me, just making sure I look good. Cause when you look good, you feel good. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's kind of like my type of self care.
Okay, okay. And I know you also mentioned you being involved in the church. Have you always been like involved in the church? I know I think on our episode before that you had posted on your page, it was like a clip in there of the church I believe that you may be involved with. And I think I seen like a little picture of you in there. I was like, oh, that's her, that look like her. So I see that you were there then. So have it like this always been like you grew up in the church?
Yeah, I've been in the church since I was a baby. It's all I
That is
know.
so beautiful. That is so beautiful. So what impact do you feel like the church had on you?
Uh, it teaches me like to apply what I learned in church into real life because like
Mhm,
every Sunday, like I learn something new from my pastor, and I try to, use what he teaches into real life because I feel like church is like a really good place to come to because I know at my church we have a lot of people who are very open and very caring,
Mhm,
and it's always someone here you can talk to. So if you feel like
mhm,
you ever may need someone to talk to, it's always somebody at Elam that you can talk to, who can listen and help
mhm.
you, pray for you, all of that.
That's good. I absolutely love that. That is very beautiful. And I'm glad that you was able to have that community since a kid. I really feel like I grew up a little bit in the church, but then it kind of like veered off. But it was never foreign. So, but that's really good that you are involved in the church. Is it a lot of people, like younger people, involved in your church?
It's like young adults
Mm-hmm.
and it's mostly like little kids. So like a while back, like I was like the baby of the church because like
Mm-hmm.
I was like the only kid. But as I grew up, like more little kids came in and then like more young adults came in. But like the young
Mm-hmm.
adults here, you can talk to them. Like they're not judgy or like strict.
Yeah.
So, they make it to where you can feel comfortable going to them.
That's good. I'm really happy because we always hear them stories about just a lot of judgmental people. So I'm really glad you have that. Now, do you have like any fears, anything that like you're worried about or anything like that?
Uh, I think like my biggest fear is just like not succeeding. Like I have a really big fear of like failure.
Mm,
I just don't like failing at all. That's just really a big fear of mine.
yeah, I understand that. I'm not gonna lie, we are more alike than I would have thought. Like we are just the same because that would have been my same answer. Like I just want to make sure I'm good. Like I just want to succeed. So, have you ever been in a predicament where you have failed, and how did you handle that?
Yeah, it was like my freshman year, I had a test and I was
Mm-hmm,
so nervous for this test because I was like,
mm-hmm,
this is a high school test. I really got to take it serious. And
mm-hmm,
I didn't necessarily like fail, but I felt like I could have done better than what I
yeah,
did. And basically,
mm-hmm,
I just learned from what I did when I could have done better. And I just took notes and I just figured out like this is where I need to focus on. This area is where I need to focus on and get better at so I can
mm-hmm.
be better for the next test or the next assignment.
That's good. That's good. So, how were you raised, like growing up? If you don't mind me asking, like how was your
Um,
childhood?
my childhood, um, my childhood was a lot because I did a lot as a kid. Because I
Mm,
remember I did ballet, I did gymnastics, I ran track, I even
mm.
took swimming lessons. I did a lot. I was real
Yeah, you
active.
was active.
I was really active as a kid. So, like, I had, for the most part, like, a pretty nice childhood.
Mm, that's good. That's good. What was your favorite out of those?
Um, I like swimming because my family, they're really big on sports. And so
Mm,
they wanted me to, like, run and stuff, but, like, when I was a kid, I was like, "Yeah, this is not for me at all." But I
mm,
enjoyed it because I made, like, a lot of different relationships and stuff with people, and
mm.
I feel like it prepared me to be where I'm at today.
That's good. I really love to hear that. I cannot swim, so we'll never meet at a pool. That's just one thing about it. I cannot swim. But if you ever get back into running, I used to play basketball, so that's something. But yeah, I'm not swimming. That's not happening for me at all. Now, if you could give like any type of advice to people your age or just transitioning into, you said you're a junior or sophomore?
Sophomore.
Sophomore. If you could give anybody some advice transferring over into being a sophomore, just coming from that freshman year. I know freshman year can be a little shocking because you used to be big dog 8th grade. Now you back in a freshman position. So I already know how that go. If you could give any advice, what would it be?
Mm, my advice would just continue to be yourself, like, don't let
Mm,
the outside conflict you to change unless you may
mm,
need to change, but if if you need to change something about yourself or not. So depending on if you need to change anything, just stay yourself. Don't let the outside get into your head to make you feel less than or feel different about yourself. Just continue to be yourself. Surround yourself with positive people and people who are doing good for themselves. Because the crowd around you says a lot about you. So just
Yeah.
make sure you're around a crowd that represents what you believe in and how you were brought up and how you were raised.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, just don't let people influence you to do things that you didn't think about doing or you wouldn't do.
Mhm. That's some really good advice, y'all. I hope y'all are listening to that one because that is some really good advice. If you could describe like the crowd that you hang around, I would assume you hang around a little bit of older people just because you're so smart. I would be like, because that's what they used to tell me, like you must be hanging around with some old people, with some old folks. But what's your crowd? Like, what is your type of friends?
My crowd, they're around my age. I mostly,
Mm-hmm.
when I was little, like I stay with the adults more. Cause I
Mm-hmm.
was, like, the only kid when I was little, so, like, I
Mm-hmm.
stayed with the adults more. Cause like, it wasn't really any kids my age, so I just stay with the
Yeah.
adults. But, like, now, I surround myself with, like, people who are, doing good for themselves and, like, they wanna be better than where they're at, and they have room in their heart and their mind for improvement, because
Mm-hmm.
everybody can improve on something. So
Yeah.
I just try to put myself around people that I feel like are going to be like a positive example for me, because I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
want to hang around anybody that's negative, because when you hang around people that are negative you tend to turn to that negative side. So I just try to
Yeah.
stick around positive people who are also doing good for themselves.
Yes, that's really good. And I really admire that. A lot of times growing up, we don't understand the necessity of that, just hanging around people who are willing to grow and also have your best interests at heart. Something that my dad used to always tell me is just everybody don't care about you how the people that's close to you do, even when it came to just like small petty stuff going on at school. People just want to show. People just want some entertainment. So just always be true to yourself. Don't do anything for anybody else. So that's really good. I'm really happy that you just understand that and you embody that. And that you surround yourself with people who are they have a growth mindset. A lot of people can get in a fixed mindset. And it's a big difference between the both. Now, a segment that I do on this podcast is called Recent Reflections. So, what that is I basically talk about something that I may be journaling about that week, or something that I learned at church, or just something that's just been on my mind. So, is there anything that you've just been reflecting on recently that you would like to share today?
Uh, well, I've been reflecting on basically school because I start school next week. So I'm just
Mm,
been reflecting on what I did last year and what I could improve on from last year on what I did.
mm,
Because I feel like I had like a pretty decent freshman year. I think I did
yeah,
pretty well. So I just been focusing on just reflecting and seeing what mistakes that I may have made freshman year so that I don't make them sophomore year. Because
mhm,
sophomore year is like kind of your foundation onto where you're going to be in the future, because you're a sophomore, but you're getting closer to being a junior. And sophomore year, that's when you start to apply for scholarships, you start to think
mm,
about college. So I just been reflecting so I can be the best I can be for my sophomore year.
mm. Okay, that's really good. So, what are some things that you're trying to get done in sophomore year? Like, what are some of those goals you have?
Well, I'm trying to, stay on top of my classes because this year I have some different classes and I'm just trying to
Mm,
stay on top of that because with my podcast and my school, I try to like balance it out just so I
mhm.
can have enough time for school and enough time to do my podcast.
Yeah,
And I just basically I put school first. Nothing's gonna
definitely.
come before school. I get my work done, all of that.
Mm,
So when I'm done with that, I'll have free time to do stuff that I like and my podcast as well. So I
yeah.
just, try to balance the time.
Yeah, that's really good. And oh, I was gonna ask something else, but so with those goals and everything, do you feel like your support system to help you with that? Do you feel like that's effective, or who is like in that support system for you?
Well, it depends. Like for certain stuff, like I'll go to my dad or I'll even
Mhm,
go to my auntie. Like with last year I like needed some help with some math. So I
Mhm.
was in class and I called my auntie. I said, I need help because what is this? And she ended up I sent her a problem, and instead of like, if you ask somebody for a problem, they'll just give you the answer. Instead of just
Yeah.
giving me the answer, she showed me steps along the way to get the answer. So I just, I used those steps and I ended up figuring it out, and it helped me a lot. And then certain stuff I'll go to my dad for. um I'll go to my dad for math too, but like he be working stuff out in his head, and I'm like, I can't do all of that.
You know,
I, you gonna have to write that down.
yes. Mhm.
But and then like with like friends and like relationships, I'll go to my other auntie about that
Mm,
because
yeah.
she'll just listen, and then she'll give me like little feedback and little comments about what I should do. Mostly she just be like, focus on school, don't let that phase you. I just be like,
Mhm.
okay.
That's the best advice. Cause listen, you're gonna keep growing, and you're gonna realize it's all gonna come when it needs to come. But that's really good. I absolutely love that you have a village of people. It's always been made important to me that we surround ourselves with people, like I said earlier, just that support us and have our best interests at heart, because that goes a long way from just emotional support. And then like when you get into working resume references and stuff like that, and people that has actually watched you grow up, it's so beautiful. And just with my younger siblings and cousins, I'm seeing them go off to college. I'm just like, oh, you was just a baby. Like, oh my gosh. But like anything you need, like I want to help. So those are people that are there to help. So that's very beautiful. Now, I know you mentioned like this sophomore year being like a foundation for you and starting to apply for scholarships and stuff like that. Is there any school that you're interested in already? I know it's a little early. I know it's a little early, but just is there any school that you had just been like, okay, you know what, that might be a school I may like to go to?
Well, for like in-state, the school that I've been really focusing on is U of
Mm-hmm.
M, the University of Michigan. I really been
Mm-hmm.
focusing on them because like they have like a good medical program for me. So when I finish, regular college, I can go there for like medical school. Um, as far as out of state, I'm open to like whatever. I'm not trying to go too far, but like I'm open.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Do your family want you to go out the state, or are they trying to keep you in
No, not at all.
Michigan? I felt that way. I definitely felt. I think my dad was the only one that was like, "Okay, you can go ahead," but everybody else, they was like, she don't need to go. She needs to stay." But yeah, they couldn't keep me. I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm definitely wishing you the best in that for sure. Like whichever school, just make sure you do your background check on the school. Because remember, like I told you on your podcast, I did not do a lot of background check on my school. So, but yeah, just make sure you're doing a lot of just searching, researching on that school and their programs. So that's really, really good. So I also another segment that I do here is just biblical backup, and since we don't really have a topic today, we're gonna I just want to give you a scripture that I'm sure you're familiar with because you didn't grew up in the church, so you probably already know it. But I do want to just give you a scripture to leave with, because it's something that I feel like means the most but says the least, if that makes sense. So you can use this in any environment for every circumstance. And then I kind of want to see if you can tell me like how it make you feel, if that's okay. All right. All right. So we are going to be in Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5. So just trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. I'm sure you've heard that one before. Yeah. Okay. So if you could, what do you get from that? And I'll also give what I get from that as well. But if you want to go first, you can, or if you want some time to think, I can go first.
I go. Basically, what
Okay.
it really means to me is like you're gonna go through stuff, and it's gonna
Mhm.
make you feel like it's gonna make you feel down. But just trust that the Lord knows how much you can handle. So it may seem like you're faced with something that you can't handle, but God knows that you can handle it, and that's why He's allowing for you to go through the things that you're going through because He knows that you can handle it, and that as long as you trust in Him, He's gonna bring you out of that. So just trusting in him, no matter how you may feel, just trust in him. Don't let your faith lessen. because he knows how much you can handle and what you can't handle. So he's not gonna make you go through something that you can't handle.
Man, that was really good. Yes, you hit that spot on. And do you feel like you do this? Like, do you feel like you're able to lean on that knowledge in like all areas of your life, or is there somewhere that you may struggle
Yeah, it's sometimes that like I struggle, but like I just try to just stay as close to the word as I can to where I
at?
can just, rely on my faith to just bring me out of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good. So I would definitely agree with you just on the interpretation of that word. Just like it's clear as day. Lean not on my own understanding because it may not make sense to me right now, just the stuff that is going on. But I know down the line that it's going to make sense eventually, and it's all to the glory. It's all for the glory of God. So I just try to remind myself of that now. And before I really was like in my word, I think like when I would go through stuff as a child, I would never understand. I'd just be like, Lord, what is going on? Not even knowing I'm really talking to God. First of all, just like, Lord, what is going on? I don't know. I don't want to be going through this. None of this. Like it's just I was just very devastated. But I feel like now when I lean on just that and lean on God, it's like it's much easier to get through the bad times when it is bad things going on. So I love that. I just absolutely love that verse. Every single time I hear it, just gives me more clarity on every single thing. I think an area that I struggle with really not leaning on my own understanding, it'll be more so with, I want to say, just personal relationships. I can lean on God and not on my own understanding about a job, always, about school, always, about anything as far as like my purpose, if that makes sense. Because I know God has that ordained already. So whatever He wants is going to happen. Um, but as far as like personal relationships, whether it's romantic or with friends, I try to figure everything out. Like I'd be like, why did they do this? Or why are they acting like this? Or when is this gonna happen for me? Or like when is all these things? So recently I just been really like just chill. Armani, just chill. Just they people gonna act how they act and they don't got nothing to do with you. God gonna handle them. You don't have to understand, you don't have to try to be understood. So that's just my little piece of what that gave me today. Um, is there anything that you would like to just share today before we go ahead and close out this episode?
Just subscribe to my channel. You
Mhm,
can find it at the Maliyah Kimble Show on YouTube. You can also find it on Instagram. Just subscribe because I have a lot of content. I have different content, so you may find something that appeals to you and it may help
mhm.
you.
Yes, definitely check out her channel, y'all. And we did do a podcast, I think last week or the week before. So that's on there too for you guys to go check that out. But please be sure y'all just go and all through her channel and watch it because it's really, really good. She has some really great stuff on there. But I just thank you guys for tuning in to another episode. I love you all. Bye.